happens if 10% of people who the government was accusing of a crime asked the government to prove that they committed a crime? When I say things like the right to a jury trial no longer exists, I'm not being dramatic, and I'm not exaggerating for effect. I mean it in the most literal and real sense. And I'm going to show you what I mean with math. But first, we got to start with the basics. Juries are disruptive, they're resource intensive, and they're extremely inconvenient. You've got to pull in dozens of potential jurors minimum. You've got to call them off of work to spend the entire day at the courthouse. The jurors who are selected, they have to stay a full day, often multiple days for trial and deliberations. You got clerk of courts, court security, court reporters, other personnel who have to stay for the whole duration of the trial. Lawyers on both sides have to prepare for days, maybe weeks, depending on the charges. You have to serve subpoenas on witnesses who also may be forced to miss work. And all that's on one case. But that's the point. It's supposed to be disruptive, resource intensive, and inconvenient when the government wants to take someone's rights away. And that's why we call it the land of the free. The founders wanted to make damn sure that in the United States of America, the government could never systematically engage in the mass incarceration of its own people at the behest of profit-driven corporations. So we're dealing with the government. It's a bureaucracy. And they have to budget for resources, things like courtrooms and judges and court reporters and everything else that you need for it to function. Here's how it works in Escambia County, Florida. There's 8 felony divisions. Each division, they're scheduled for about 32 trial days per year. The total funded capacity currently is about 256 trials per year. Now consider this, there's over 5,000 felony cases prosecuted each year in this county. If every one of them got a constitutional right to a trial, we're talking about 20 times what the current schedule allows. But what's more interesting is just to think about what happens if 10% of people who the government was accusing of a crime asked the government to prove that they committed a crime. Well, that's 500 cases. That's about twice as much as we currently have allocated. How about 20%? Now we're talking about 1,000 cases a year. But would break the system. 20%. That's not a constitutional right. That's more like a facade.